Hey everybody, welcome back to Before I Forget. I am Kevin, as you guys know, and as with me as always is my Sutter and Tyree. Tyree, say hi.
Hey, hey.
Hey guys, we got a pretty good show for y'all today. I'm excited about it. I know Tyree's excited about it, and I'm gonna let Tyree tell y'all a little bit about it. Go ahead,
Oh
Tyree.
yeah. So hey everybody, it's Tyree here with Before I Forget. And we have our guest here, Mr. Paul the Anvil O'Keefe. Now, he's done some pretty wild things in his life, and he's going to share them with us. He also just happens to be an IAA member, more or less. So shout out for him for that. And I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you, Paul. Go, hey, say hey.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Guys, thank you so much for inviting me on the show. It's a true blessing to talk with anybody uh, in our world about anything positive that can help help others out, help other veterans, and I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, and that's kind of that's what we want to do is we want to show other veterans what life is like when you develop a skill and you put you put in those the work skills, the skills
Yeah,
that we learn in the military, we put those to work for ourselves.
sure.
It's an it can be a huge positive thing.
And I don't even think people realize how much you've learned, even if you do 4 years in the military as a cook or something like that. You learn so much in that
Mhm.
short time frame. I don't think people tap into that discipline enough when they get out.
Yeah, a lot of people once they get out, they're like, "I'm out of here." They throw it all away. Not really throw it away,
Yeah,
but say, "Hey, I'll throw it in the bag and use it sometime later." And they never do, and that stinks.
Well, and I would even say that, like, I mean, they some of them really do throw it all the way. Like, do you have these, like, I remember, like, some people were like doing like ceremonial burning of their boots and BDUs and or
Hmm.
whatever they had left. You know what I mean? Whatever the CIF wouldn't take when they left. Like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
this is so, like, did you really hate your time in that much that you need to burn everything? Like, it's just it's a waste. It's I don't know. And I think honestly, it kind of says a lot about the person and their
sure.
specific experience, but.
hmm I was gonna say that's their perception of how everything was maybe it was all bad.
Yeah, but it
Maybe.
doesn't
Well, I
mean that.
mean, if
Yeah,
you
go
could
ahead.
if you could burn your stuff that easily, I mean,
Here.
you're basically saying that that time of your life was worthless, and it's definitely not. Even if you hated 99% of what you did in the military, you still learned and grew from what you did in that experience. So that's just kind of childish.
Yeah,
Hmm.
no, exactly. I agree completely. Like, you may have not liked it, but you still learned some stuff, and you can put that stuff to work. So
That's a
you
fact.
were you were Air Force,
Yes,
security
sir.
forces.
I was security forces. So I went in. My dad was a chief master sergeant in the Air Force, and he did almost 30 years as a cop in the Air Force. He put on chief. He put on his E9 stripe at 15 years, so he was a burner.
Oh
And I
man.
got to watch him go to all these, Gucci schools. He'd get, Ranger School and doing stuff with SF troops and and really building a program for the Air Force for the ground launched cruise missiles back in the Cold War era. So he was working with the Army with all these high speed guys. And growing up, I got to see that. I got to see my dad doing all these cool things. And we were all over Europe and, down in Tucson where he was an instructor. And as a little kid, I got to hang out with him and all his high speed buddies, and they taught me how to rappel, and we did the obstacle courses, and I'd go on long runs and rucks with them. And that influence over my young life and thinking all these guys were like GI Joe really made me want to join the military. And honestly, I probably could have went into any other service or any other career, but I was so impressed with my dad that I became an Air Force cop. And my one regret in the military, if I have any, I wish I would have tried to hit a different specialty job like pararescue or combat control or something like that. But I had a great time as a cop and I made the best of it. So
Right on. Yeah. And so before all of our because I think you might be like the second person we've had from the Air Force on. And so you know how the jokes go. The chair force, I don't do
Yep.
anything and blah blah blah. But like some of the pictures that I've seen of you, like until I saw a photo that you had sent where you actually had your Air Force rank on, it was pretty much indistinguishable from
Yeah.
people in the Army. People, well, I mean, aside,
Sure.
well, you were wearing the DCUs. You know what I'm saying? You had, I
Yeah.
couldn't tell what weapon system it was. It was like kind of like a saw. Was it a saw?
We always had a saw with us. I had a 203 in the
Mm.
pictures I think you sent, or that I sent you. Those uniforms we had on though, they were all sanitized. We didn't really have anything on them.
Hmm.
We were doing some stuff with the Army at that time, and we were looking for some people, and we were working with the Army and an outside agency. And it was just a wild time, man. I didn't feel like I was in the Air Force at all. We did all this we did all the cool, got all the warning orders, and we did all the cool operations orders, and did all the walkthroughs, and we built stuff to mimic where we were going to be operating, and we were doing all the things that we would be doing if we were going on a mission. And right before we were supposed to go grab these dudes up, another team came in and pulled it from us.
No,
That's
man,
how that goes, though, man.
that's normal.
Yeah, it happens. I worked a lot with the Army though. I got to work with the Army a lot.
But that's
Hey,
kind of what I wanted to get. I cannot get my tongue together. Kind of what I want to get at today, because like when we're deployed, regardless of the branch that you're in, like we're all
Yeah.
over there doing something, right? We're all over there being a part of the big
Sure.
picture. And so when we come home, this is one thing that I cannot stand, the toxic like veteran culture where they want to hate on other people and like they truly mean it. Like it's one thing to jest and joke and everything, but like you're over there doing the exact same thing we're doing, training to do the exact same thing we're training to do, working with the same people that we probably worked with. You know what I mean? So that's
mhm.
Yeah.
just really badass. And some of those pictures, man, like I'm jealous. So we don't have like headsets and stuff like that you had. Those are pretty cool.
That was a long time ago, man. Those things
Yeah.
worked like crap, by the way.
Yeah. What year were you over?
Yeah, that's what.
Those pictures were like 2001, 2003 time frame.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it was fresh. It was fresh when
Yeah,
you were over there. Okay,
that
what
was
year did
real
you
fresh.
actually join the military?
I joined in 1996.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
so I graduated from high school in well, I was supposed to graduate in '92, and we were overseas in Europe, and I was playing baseball for the base team. I was playing football for the base team, and there was a tryout for a men's league baseball team, a semi-professional European baseball team, and they had the football, the European Football League was going on. So like we had the Frankfurt Galaxy playing close to us, like a semi-pro team that guys got recruited out of, or guys that were hurt would go over and play and do rehab and stuff. Well, there was a
Mhm.
baseball league also in Europe, not quite as good as the football league, and they had this tryout. And they put it in the Stars and Stripes. If you want to try out for this baseball team, come to Mannheim at this field at this time. So my dad, who always encouraged me to play sports, I said, "Come on, bud, let's go down there. Why don't you go throw for these guys?" I threw hard in high school. I played really high level baseball. So I went down and tried out as a 17-year-old kid, and I made the team. I made the German team. So then I was playing baseball on Fridays and Saturdays, but we didn't live near Mannheim. I had to take a train to get there. That meant I missed school. Sometimes I'd get back late on Sunday, and I'd miss Mondays. So I missed all these days of school because I was playing baseball for this German team. And then I got traded to play in Paris, and it got worse because I was going to France all the time. So I was doing this as a senior in high school. Man, it was crazy. So I'm playing center field, or I'm pitching. I'm hitting 3 or 4. I'm a kid amongst all these men, and I'm meeting older women that I shouldn't be meeting because they don't know how old I am.
Yeah.
So I did all this stuff my senior year in high school, and we had a new principal come in right at the end of the year, and he came from somewhere in the Korean, like the school system over in Korea, over on the bases, and he was very strict on academics and on like tardies and absences. Well, I had a million absences. So in 92, when I was supposed to graduate, they didn't let me graduate at this Air Force base school in Germany. So I didn't graduate. I had to come back to Arizona, and I went to school for like a semester, staying with my grandparents. Graduated. I was trying out. I was trying to play baseball professionally. I didn't want to go to college. I didn't really want to join the military at that time. I wanted to play baseball, and I tried out with Chicago. I had a couple tryouts with Chicago. Got released. I broke my arm, and a couple years went by, and I'm like, I got nothing going for me. I'm never gonna play baseball. I don't want to go back to school. I wasn't mature enough for it. So that's when I decided, you know what? My dad and all his buddies do cool stuff all the time, and I want to be like those guys. So I joined the Air Force and became a cop. But that, I didn't even think about it. Like when I made my mind up to do it, the thought came in my head was like, you're never going to pitch for a pro team. You might as well do something with your life. And the next thing that came in my head was join the Air Force, and I went and talked to a recruiter, and that was it.
Do
What
you
was your dad's reaction to you joining?
Say that again.
What was your dad's reaction to you joining?
You know what? My dad was a real smart guy. He was always around me to catch me if I was going to fall, because I was kind of a bad kid. You know, I was a goofball. I like to get in trouble. I like mischief. I like chasing girls around. I was always in trouble. And my dad, as much as he could, tried to be there for me and help me out when I got in those situations. So when I joined the Air Force, I think for him, it was kind of a sigh of relief. Like, okay, maybe now my son is going to grow up and he's going to go and get stripped down to nothing and lose this ego and lose this attitude and, you know, be a better person. And I think he was really excited, and I was really excited.
I was gonna ask a second ago. I completely spaced on what it was, but no. So like life. So you came in '96, and then I don't do math in public, but like a couple years later, 9/11 happens, and then like now, like the world has completely changed. The tempo of the military has completely changed. What was that moment like for you guys over in the Air Force?
So you got to remember, I grew up my whole life in the Air Force. I was, you know, as a dependent, you go through everything. You know, you don't go through the work that your parents do, but you see it all. So all during the Cold War in Europe, when we had protesters spitting on our school buses and people throwing stuff at us because we were at a nuke base. I saw all that. We had cops on our buses for security when stuff was going on in Libya, like all those things that were happening during the Cold War era, and with all those little skirmishes we had everywhere. I was a kid growing up through all of that. So when I went in '96, everything was relatively calm. For years, all I was doing was training and learning to be the best law enforcement and security officer I could. And I had years to do that before 9/11 kicked off. And by that time, I was already taking my first steps as a leader. You know, from '96 to 2001, that's 5 years. I'm putting staff sergeant on. I've got guys under me. I'm training people. I had just become an instructor, so I started as a cop, like on the base, writing tickets and going to fights and doing all that stuff, and also working security on the jet. And then I switched over. I had an incident with the supervisor in an armory, and I had the choice of getting in trouble or taking this job as an instructor at Silver Flag. And Silver Flag is out in the middle of nowhere, out like between Area 51 and Nellis. There's this little place called Indian Springs, and it's just in the middle of nowhere in the desert. And it's just dust and nasty yucca trees, and it's terrible. And I had the choice of getting in trouble for standing up for myself, or go become an instructor. If you want to be, shit hot and talk like that and whatever, you can go out here and we'll see how tough you are. So I took the job as the instructor, and I was like one of 24 cops from the Air Force that had this job, and we taught patrolling and mount operations. We 9 mil all the way to 81 millimeter mortar. We did support for pre-ranger for the Air Force. We worked with the black hats that would come in and give out the goes and no goes for the Air Force. So I can't even tell you how pivotal that job was for me, because I still thought I was, an alpha, and you can't tell me shit. My boots are polished better than yours. My uniform looks better than yours. I write more tickets than you. Whatever. I was that guy because I was trying to be something like, I was trying to be my dad, I guess.
Yeah.
And some people loved it, some people hated it, but I always got the job done. So then when I had the chance to go be an instructor, that's when I really learned how to drop your ego, work with the team, make sure when you're teaching to the lowest level so everybody's getting it before you're moving on. Like I learned so much from that job, and man, all we did was patrol. Like, get your ruck on, grab your rifle, grab the 60. We're going on another hump. We're going to go do this. And it was just years of that. And then I got stationed in Georgia in the 820th, which is the specialty unit for cops in the Air Force. I wouldn't say it's a unit unlike very many others. It's a jump unit. They have aircraft assigned to them. It's just 3 big teams of guys that know how to get it done and patrol and do all the right stuff. And I was lucky enough to be a leader there and deployed with them a couple times too. So I had a good career.
That is it usually takes some kind of like humbling experience, like going out there and,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying, getting kicked in the teeth basically, and having to be like, oh damn, like I am not what I thought I was. That's awesome though, man. That was the question that I was kind of going to ask, and you kind of reminded me of that, because I was reminded of that question when you're out there and you're learning all these lessons in humility. Do you think that you would be where you are today if you had not joined the military, if you had not gone through that experience? Like if you had stuck with baseball, let's say that principal that you graduate and you're in these semi-pro leagues over there in Europe, and you were able to take it to that next level. Do you think that you would be where you are right now?
So I'll answer that in a couple ways. Let's say somehow, some way, I was blessed and I made it to the show or to play baseball. I think financially, at that point, I'd probably be in a better place because I'd have enough money to invest it and save it. I don't think I would be in a place as clear-headed about what my importance in life is if I had gone that way. If that makes sense. I think by the struggles in the military, by struggles after the military, they've taught me so much more than if I was just to be given some really nice life, out of the blue. I think I wouldn't trade my backstory for anything at this point. Highs and lows, and I've had a lot of lows. I've had a lot of bad points.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about having to go through it to have that humility. Because I feel like that's a common thing. Like I don't think we've talked to many people who were like, if I can go back and do it all over again, I would do this differently, or I'd do that, or I would have tried this. I mean, maybe with some small things, right? But like you gotta think like all of our past decisions ultimately led us to where we are today, and to be who we are. Do you think that you would have like you picked up MMA, right? That's where you got the nickname Anvil, right?
Yep.
So like what got you into that? Like, do you think like, again, like with your choices and everything, is that what kind of led you in that direction? Or
so when I got out of the service, I had my last deployment, I was having a lot of respiratory problems, and I was bleeding out of like my respiratory, out of my lungs, and my larynx was getting torn up by like acid reflux and blood and like whatever we were inhaling. So on my last deployment, we were like weeks away from rotating back. And every morning I would get up and I would have to choke and scream and spit these like scabs off my vocal cords because they were so raw. So I'd be in the shower just choking and screaming and like really trying to scream to get this like thing unlodged off my vocal cords. And once I did that, I'd bleed a little bit and then I could talk for the day. But it started getting really bad and I couldn't talk on the radio. So my boss called me and he's like, "Hey, O'Keefe, we got to get you out of here. You can't talk on the radio. You got to go." I'm like, "Fuck that." Sorry. I said, "Heck with that, sir. I don't want to leave."
You good.
So
you can cuss as much as you want, man.
ultimately, they got me on this little army aircraft that looked like a bus with wings. I don't even know what it was. They got me to Germany, got to a pulmonary specialist, had a bunch of issues with my throat and lungs. And I had the choice of, my commander told me he'd promote me and give me a stripe if I stayed in, because he needed a good squad leader and he needed a flight leader for the next rotation, or I could get out on my enlistment. And because I had told my commander, "Hey, I'm going to get out. My throat's messed up. I can't talk." I was salty from a lot of stuff that was going on over there, running us through the same patrol zones all the time, not changing routes, just dumb stuff that could have helped us. I was getting salty, so I decided to get out. They offered me to stay in for like 8 months until they could get my throat fixed and put me in like a logistical support role, which I did not want to do, or I could punch my ticket. And at that point in time, I punched out and had no. I wasn't ready to get out. When I went on that deployment, I was fine. By the end of the deployment, I sounded like Grover, or you couldn't hear me. And that decision that I made was one decision that I wish I would have sat on longer. Because if I would have let the Air Force fix my throat, I'd still be doing, I'd probably be a retired chief at this point, just like my pop, and had a great career, leading troops that really needed leadership and helping who I could. That's one regret I have, but you know what? You can't change it. So when I got out, I was in this bad place. Like, I didn't want to be out. I was pissed off at the world. I couldn't talk. I was like bleeding in my throat every day. And I came back to Arizona and I was working like security at bars and stuff, and just sleeping all day, getting fat, getting lazy. Woe is me. I'm hurt. No one cares about me. All that kind of crap. And I had a buddy ask me, he's like, "Hey man, this heavyweight up in Denver fell off a card that I'm going to be fighting on. Do you want to fight?" And I was like, "Fight like boxing?" And he's like, "No, dude, this is a cage fight." And at that time, it was guys like Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell that I was watching. So it was more like street fights with a little bit of wrestling. And I'm like, and that's no offense to Chuck and all those guys. It was just a different fight game back then.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've taught combatives in the military. I've been in a million bar fights when my drunk buddies like can't handle the guy they started talking shit to, and I had to come help them. So why not? So I was like, "Yeah, man, I'll take the fight." And we drove up to Denver from Phoenix. Guy gave me $5,000. I got in the cage, knocked the shit out of this guy for a couple minutes until he grabbed me. He choked me almost to death. And that was my first fight. And I was like, man, I got $5,000 for stomping around with this other sweaty dude in his cage for 4 minutes. This is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even care that I lost. I got out of the cage. I called my mom. I was all excited. Mom, I just got paid $5,000 for this fight. She's like, oh my gosh, Paul, did you win? And I'm like, well, no. And she's like, well, why are you so excited? Well, I don't know. It was awesome. So then I started training like for real. And for a number of years, it was easier to promote myself as a fighter and get people to sponsor me with either products or money and show my skills in the ring in a way that fight promoters knew if you hire that guy, he's coming out to win. He might not win, but he's coming to throw bombs. He's going to throw heavy kicks. He's looking to hurt guys. That guy's going to try to finish. So put him in there against, whoever you're trying to build up for a title or whatever, and it'll be a good fight. So by promoting myself well, by speaking well when I was doing like radio and, interviews and stuff, I think that helped me as a subpar fighter fight for a long time. Because I wasn't that great. I just hit people really hard. So
You're having fun making money.
I was having fun.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was at that point in time, I think I needed that. I needed the structure of training every morning again with guys that were like-minded, really, really sharpening each other's skills. I needed all of that back then. And as I started getting older, all of the fight stuff, like the fight is just a few minutes of time, like you get in the cage and you watch you watch UFC or something or Bellator or whatever you're going to watch, and you see those guys in there blasting on each other for 15 minutes. Well, think about the 4 months before that guy was in the gym, 2 and 3 times a day, 4 to 8 hours a day, getting beat up so that he could make it look that good on TV for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, that wore on me, and I was old, so I had to figure out life in a different way. So I started working a real job.
I was gonna say, so, I mean, aside from the structure of training and everything, I feel like that probably pulled you out of a potential hole, right? Because if just getting into MMA in particular, because one, you've got the structure of training and like, you got these timelines, a schedule, you got to go do this, you got to go do that. And like you said, you're sharpening your tools with other like-minded people, which is exactly what we do in the military when it comes to training. Yep. And then on top of that, you have the thrill of the fight itself and all of the hormones and the chemicals that are released from training for the fight, for being in the fight, from the adrenaline to the dopamine to the serotonin. So you get that rush, which then takes you back to those moments when you were with your boys, doing operational things, training to be badass, training to go hit targets. And then, obviously, like, you get $5,000 just to get choked out. I mean, $5,000, 15 years ago was a lot more than $5,000 today.
It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like to make that kind of money for just a few minutes of something you enjoy doing, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Speaking about something that you enjoy doing, what was it like going into that cage for a real big fight, your biggest fight? What was that feeling like?
So my biggest fight was in 2012, and I fought for the WFA World Heavyweight title. And I'll tell you what, man, that fight I trained for, because it was going to be on a pretty big stage. I trained my ass off for that fight, and that one was different. The King of the Cage fights I did, and some of the Gladiator Challenge fights I did, the smaller ones. You always have nerves before the fight because you're getting ready to go mix it up with another dude that wants to hurt you as much as you want to hurt him. So if you say you're not nervous a little bit, I'd call bullshit on that. I didn't get nervous to the point where I was ever scared. I was happy to do my walkout and get in the cage because that's the finality of it, you know? Like you get all those nerves and all those hormones and everything like you were talking about going during camp when you're being put in bad positions and you like, oh, how am I ever gonna get out of this? How am I gonna, you know, stop this from happening? And you're working on all these little things, and then when you get in the cage, it's different. The walkout is crazy. I always try to play a song that I know is gonna get me just batshit crazy, like mentally for a fight in my head. And the last fight I walked out to was, or the last song I walked out to was Eminem, and it was, oh man, Lose Yourself, I think. That it was Lose Yourself. And when that music plays, because I've been listening to it like every day when I run or every day when like I'm like in the sauna, that music is like my trigger for when I walk out. So whenever I'm walking out, I'm starting to get really like, it's different. I'm not thinking about the crowd. I don't care if someone's like trying to high five me. I'm literally walking to the cage, and that's all I can see is the cage. And I'm trying to get into that predator mindset, you know, while still being able to think.
Mm-hmm. You got to put
So
yourself in that trance.
Right, man. You got to get in that, like, it's like that zone or that trance, you know, when Sylvester Stallone turns his hat to the back and he starts like just beating people's ass on the arm wrestling table. The walkout music for me is what triggered that. Like, and I did that intentionally because it's hard for me to get fired up. Like, that guy didn't do anything to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and after the fight, I'm going to shake his hand and we're probably going to go grab a beer. So I need something more to get me in that right mind frame as I walk in the cage. And when I get in the cage and I breathe, as soon as they close the door and I can see the other guy, everything is just quiet. I can't hear anything. I don't see outside of the ring. It's almost like tunnel vision. And then as soon as you throw your first jab, or you get hit by a jab, or you get hit with a kick, everything kind of comes back. Then you can start, like, slowly you start hearing the crowd, at least for me anyway. Slowly you start hearing the crowd and you see the lights. You might see a cameraman over the top of the cage. Like, you don't see any of that until you're engaged in the fight. And it kind of resets your clock.
Yeah. So, and I was looking you up. You were at the time 6'3", 265.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a big dude. I'm 6'2", 245, and I feel like I'm a pretty big person.
Yeah, you're a big dude.
Relative to most people, right? Yeah. And you got an inch at the time. You had an inch and 20 pounds on me. And so I used to do jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And one thing that we had talked about in doing that class is so you might have two people who are like the same belt, and this is just the way it was explained to me by the coach there. But like you might have two people that are the same. Say, like, say they're both blue belts, right? Blue belts, no stripes, but one of them weighs 30 pounds more than the other one, right? So the way he was explaining it was for every 10 pounds that person has on you is like having an additional stripe on their belt, and so you got to think like 6'3", 265, and you're able to like move and pound people. And I mean, that's just to me, it's just a scary thought. You know what I mean? Like how big was Brock Lesnar when he was in the cage? Do you know?
So they all weighed in at 265 too. And this will go a little bit further than that on your question. So I walked around back then at like 290. So my walk around weight right now, I'm at like 285, 290 right now today, and I'm not in shape like I should be, but I'm working on it. But back then I walked around big and full, and I was strong and I would cut. So then the next day when you fight, I'd be like 275, 279 on fight night. And so were all the guys I was fighting. So like Brock, he's probably walking around at 300 pounds, cuts to 264. And then the next day he's 292. I mean, you just get that water weight back in you.
That is insane. Like,
Yeah, it's heavy. When a
yeah, no,
guy gets on you and they're that big, if they know what they're doing and they can keep like closing space down and keep like constricting you, you just can't breathe, let alone get them off of you.
yeah, no, I got put up against the brown belt back when I was a white belt, and this guy was very good at just letting you work for any kind of ground that you gained. And he was a bigger fella, right? And he would just lay on top of me. And at the time, I was probably like 220, and he would just lay on top of me, chest to chest, if you needed to, or whatever, smother my face so you can't breathe. And like, I'm not typically claustrophobic unless I'm like, if you're in a cave that could collapse on you at any moment, then I am, when you really get to start thinking about things like that. But like having this dude lay on top of me in this big open mat, and I'm like, I might fucking die here. Like, I'm going to suffocate, I'm going to die, and that's just the end of it. I'm going to die under this guy, and you get to like these panic modes. But that's like one of the benefits of training martial arts, right? It's handling yourself in those situations and being able to like take a pause for a second, think about your training, think about those tools that you sharpened, think about all the experiences that led you up to this moment, and then like trying to figure out a way to get out of there. And if you can't, you can't. That's fine. But like it's a lesson learned for the future. But when you do, it's like, oh shit, like I now have a newfound confidence in my skills that I didn't previously have.
There's something to be said about putting yourself through like tests or adversity or doing things that are a struggle and make you grow and make you better. And so many people are afraid to push themselves. They've never done it. It feels uncomfortable. When they start, they don't like it and they quit. But they don't realize once you push through a little bit and you win or you learn something from that hard thing that you did, then you're looking for the next hard thing, and you're looking to keep getting better because it gets addictive. Like winning is a drug. Like doing better every day is a drug. But for me, like I'll just say, for me, treating people well, seeing a genuine smile and a genuine reaction from someone that I've helped over the course of the day for no reason, that to me gets me fired up. Like like I love doing stuff that you don't have to, because I enjoy making someone else's life better when they're struggling, if that makes any sense. And I've always enjoyed doing that. It's just been recently, though, after my father passed away, and I started this mentorship group with my friend Vincent Rocco Vargas. You guys know him well. And I joined his team, and he helped me through some pretty dark times after my dad died. We talked, and I started implementing different things that his group does for each other. Meditating, breathing, ice baths, getting up early, staying on task, having a plan, like all the things that you should do anyway. I really started doing them again. And I started writing, and I started getting more creative. And in the last few months, my life hasn't gotten better completely financially, but spiritually and from a happiness standpoint, my life has done a full 180. I went from as low as you could go to I just wrote a book. I'm creating jewelry again. We're getting back out on the road to sell our jewelry. There's just so many doors that are opened up now that I'm living in this positive space. And going out of my way now lately to make other people happy is kind of my way of trying to say thank you to everyone that's ever done that for me. And I just really enjoy it.
Dude, no, that's why like I was looking at, I mean, I didn't know most of this. I'm not gonna lie, but you know, when I looked at your social medias and I saw the things that you were doing, and you scroll back to a certain point, and you get past the jewelry and you get past some of the other stuff, and you start to see like, you know, you, right, and then same as your regular profile, but like the things that you're trying to do for others, and so and it's not exclusive to just veterans, right? It's
No,
anybody, yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, and that's something that like I want the veteran community to kind of learn too, is that like, yeah, I mean, it's, for one, we have to look out for each other, right? Because, you know, on Veterans Day, who is out there thanking other veterans for you know, hey, who's out there saying Happy Veterans Day to other veterans, right? Typically veterans, or family members of veterans. But you know, we make
All
up
the
a tiny,
restaurants I eat for free and
There you
all
go.
those restaurants, they always tell me Happy
yeah.
Veterans Day as I gobble up their steak.
But like it's not enough to just stop right there, because we do make up a small percentage of the population, and there are other people out there. And unfortunately, due to the last 20 years, and mostly because of the first, like, I don't know, or like the middle 8 years of the global war on terror, like some people's mindset of the military was kind of skewed and made to be kind of bad. So if we're out there in the community and we're showing the civilian population that like we're just like you, right? There's no different. That's the thing, right? Like we just want to contribute. We want to be a part of it. We're not crazy. We're not psycho. Just because we've been diagnosed with PTSD doesn't mean we're going to fly off the hinge. Because I've been asked that before by people by jobs that I've worked at, by like girls that I've tried to date, and they're like, "So you have PTSD, right? So like, are you safe?" Like, you know, so this is a way to be out there in the
So
community and be like,
that
look,
stigma, like that's what people think, man. Like that's what they see on TV. That's what they see in commercials. That's what we've been portrayed as for so long. And whether that's a good or a bad thing, it's brought a lot of light to veterans suffering and needing help. But it's crazy how many people think that we're just gonna snap
yeah,
and like, oh man, you're like a real killing machine, right? I shouldn't be around you. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm killing people every day at the mall and Circle K,
just
whatever. Like
running around
it's real
slaying
weird.
people. Yeah.
But they don't
Yeah.
know. But they've never been subject to that world. So
Yeah. And I say to that, thankfully that they've never been exposed to that type of stuff, because
yeah,
it's one thing. And I remember back in the day being angsty about, like, you know, the way people would talk about veterans and what we did over there, and being like, oh, well, I wish you could go and experience it yourself. And I think back to that, and it's like, no, I don't want people to have to go over there. I want us to go over there and do it, because that's what we're trained to do. Like, we are, even though we're not like properly trained psychologically to handle some of the things that we're going to deal with, I don't want the standard American population to have to go through that, because it's not for them. Right? We want this world. We want this world to be full of peace. We don't war. We don't want bad shit happening. And nobody wants that more than the veteran who served in combat.
right.
And you know, so to go back, if I could go back to every time that I said that to somebody, like, I would definitely take it back. Because no, we don't want that for everybody. We don't want everyone exposed to that and then be walking around unhinged, you know, ready to pop and all of that.
We don't even want that. We don't even want that for a lot of the troops that are in.
Yeah.
I had people that I worked with that I would never want them to have to do anything tough, because even though they're in the military, they're just not that person. And you know, they happen to be in the unit, or they happen to be there, but they're not the guy you want going out there in front of you, you know. So it's a very small percentage of people that can do hard things.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
agreed.
Nowadays, you need to have guys like us around.
Yeah,
It's not exactly 100% safe out there with these shootings and things like that.
man.
Yes, look at that. It's not veterans doing those shootings, guys. It's
No, no.
you guys, not you guys, everyone else.
Yeah.
It's nice to have veterans around, guide some to help out in those particular situations because,
You know, anyone at that point that's willing to put themselves in harm's way to stop a situation like that, God bless them. Whether it's the first responding officers, whether it's a civilian, whether it's a veteran, if man, my God, when these people are killing innocent civilians, kids, like adults, for whatever weird ass reason they have, when they're doing that, I, I always think to myself, I hope someone like me or someone I know that I've worked with is around for the next one. I hope I'm there or someone that I've worked with is there so that we can stop that situation. And that doesn't mean I'm hoping that violent acts happen. I hate all that stuff, but the right people are all over this country, and doing the right thing is hard, and standing up is hard, and protecting others is hard. But there's a lot of people out there that will gladly do it.
Yeah. I can't think of how many times I've thought after watching a shooting at a school or something like, man, I wish I was there.
Right.
Or even why can't that happen when I'm around so I can do something?
Sure.
That's that
Sure.
military, that's that mentality that we can save everybody. And not we not can't necessarily save everybody. We can save one.
Sure.
It's all we need to do is save one. And
I I don't say it out loud very often because you always hear people like, "Oh, I wish I was there. I would have done this, and like," and you hear this person that just starts rambling on. That's not the guy.
yeah,
That guy probably wouldn't do anything. Like
Yeah,
it's the guys
exactly.
that are sitting back, like watching that stuff, and it really hurts us to watch it. And you wish you were there because you know what you would have did in that situation. You're not just trying to talk about it.
yeah.
It's yeah. So I get
Definitely
where you're coming from.
a lot of what they call them, armchair quarterbacks or keyboard
Yeah.
warriors, right? Who
Mm-hmm.
man, if I was there, I would have done this, or and I've I think we've all encountered that person who was like, oh, if they
Sure.
had done that when I was there, I would have done this, I would have pulled this, I would have blah blah blah. And I'm like, and I want to ask them, is like, have you ever in your life been in that type of scenario? Because just like my drill sergeant said, you don't know if you can pull the trigger until it's time to pull the trigger. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You don't know what you are going to do or not going to do. You don't know if you're going to piss yourself or if you're going to, suddenly turn into John Rambo. You know what I mean? It's just you don't know until you get there. But
Right.
that doesn't mean though, and I say this, and I mean this. I want everybody listening and watching this to understand this. Like, we do live in a semi-violent world.
Yeah.
Violence happens, and if you are coasting through life being unprepared, like willfully being unprepared for that type of stuff to happen, then you're setting yourself up for failure. It's borderline a death sentence. Like, because if you do find yourself in these situations where you can't handle yourself, or you don't know how to handle yourself, or you don't know how to handle the pressure of being in these situations, then you've just set yourself up. Because these things do happen randomly all over. You don't know when they're going to happen. You don't know who's going to be around. You don't, I mean, and so it's just, so I don't understand why there's not more people learning a martial art, right? Like, why
Right.
are we not putting our kids in organized sports? Why are we not going through these things? Because these are the things that will help prepare you and
Yep.
your kids and your loved ones for these events when they happen. And
100%.
I like you said, I don't ever want this to happen to anybody ever. But if it does happen, I want to be there so that I
Right.
know, because I know what I've been through. I know what I'm
Yep.
trained to do, and I'm okay with doing those things again if need be. Um, and I would rather be the one, you know, um,
Send me.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, yes.
Send me.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of us out there that feel that way.
Mm.
And so I know that good people still exist, and I don't buy into all the media back and forth on either side. I try to stay right down the middle and stay in my lane, do what I can do to make my life better and the people around me. So I don't get into all that too often. When my father died, though, I did have a meeting with my mom, very serious meeting, and I said, Mom, you've been with Dad for over 50 years, and he's always been the guy that would protect us. And then as I grew up, I'm part of that too. Well, Dad's not here, and I need you to start doing things a little different when you're by yourself. Like when you go to pick up my sister's kids for daycare or whatever, make sure you get them all in the vehicle, close the door, get inside, lock the doors, then buckle them up. You don't want kids being grabbed from you. Like, there's kids being abducted a lot around here lately. And we went over just basic safety for certain weird scenarios like that my mom would never think about. But my mom has 4 little girls with her every day. 3 of them are identical triplets, and they're just getting ready to turn 3 or 4, and then a 6-year-old. So she's got these little kids, and they're always with her. And it would be nothing for someone that wanted to grab up a couple young girls to grab them from her, and she wouldn't be able to do anything. So we went through a lot of scenarios because we live in a very different world, I would say, or at least we're seeing it now more because of media.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how different it is, but it seems different to me.
Yeah, no, agreed.
It's different from just a few decades ago. From 1993 until now, it's a completely different planet. And a lot of civilians out there got to understand that you can't depend on the cops to do everything. You can't
not for everything.
You can't depend on that security guard when things pop off. You need to have a fucking plan.
At least be able to hold your own, right, for a couple of minutes. You know what I mean?
And I talk, on my personal page, I do these like check-ins every few days, like where I just talk about something random that I feel is important for Americans or for dads or for kids or whatever. And this the stuff that we're talking about. I talk about a lot of this stuff every day, and you have to have a plan. Like it's not good enough anymore to just send your kid off to school and let them come home and kiss them on the head and let them go to bed and not know what's going on in their life. There's too much stuff out there. Technology is too good. There's too many predators. There's too many drugs and dirty drugs. It's just, we live in a crazy time, man.
We really do. And it's and I can't predict the future, but it doesn't look like it's getting a ton better. You mentioned earlier that you wrote a book.
I did.
I did not see that in your stuff. Where is this book? Tell me about this book. Let's learn about that.
This book is something I did for the men's group, for Light the Fuse with Rocco. I don't want to give too much away, but I did something a little bit different than the collective did. I wrote a whole book, and I did it for just my own self-betterment, self-improvement. I talk about growing up with my dad and how his influence and his discipline helped me get through a lot of my life. Talked about his passing and how hard that was for me. Talk about my vices and what I'm most sad about in my life as far as things that I've done to create problems for others, mainly girls. I used to chase the ladies. That was my vice. I wasn't an alcoholic. I never got addicted to drugs or anything. I was addicted to girls, and I did not treat them with the respect and love that they should have received because I was a young, stupid guy. And a lot of the book talks about that. And I apologize for a lot of things that I've done wrong and what I'm looking forward to in the future with faith and stuff like that. So it's just like a self, I don't know. It's just a brain dump of thoughts in my head of just wanting to get the past out into the light and live life as a better man and father and husband and all that good stuff.
So this book's not published out. It's not out yet.
Not yet. I just finished writing it a couple of weeks ago. I still got to refine a couple things. I'm doing illustrations right now because I love art. So I'm drawing a bunch of funny sketches and stuff in there too. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, well, I guess it's sitting there right next to you.
I keep looking at my phone. Yeah, some of it is.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Whenever it comes out, man, you're gonna have to let us know so we can.
Yeah,
We've had a few folks on who've written some books, and we try and push those out to our listeners and our
yeah,
viewers.
I would love that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Very
And
nice.
it'll go up on our future website that we are in the progress of making.
Cool.
But so yeah, actually, Tyree and I. Well, actually, that reminds me, Tyree. After this, I need to talk to you about that. I'm gonna
Okay.
make a note of that. Um,
Office.
yeah, but so and you said you love art. Now I see back behind you there. You have 3 pieces of art.
Yeah.
Are those your works?
So the Grim Reaper with the 60 over here is a big watercolor I did when they closed our schoolhouse down. So I did that one. This one right behind me is one of the rings we make. So I did a big sculpture of it and put it on canvas. That's actually we did that. Me and Brittany, my wife, we used to do a podcast, and we were going to start doing a podcast again, like as recently as last month. And she's pregnant, so we started doing it, and she's been real tired lately, so we kind of scrapped it for now.
Yeah.
So that's that one, and then that's my buddy's dad did that one, and that's a Tillman.
Yeah. That's
Did you
badass.
get into the art, man? I mean, not art, but jewelry. That's, I mean, I haven't heard of too many people around who hand carve their own badass jewelry.
Yeah. So all growing up, the two things I was blessed with were I had a good right hand for throwing, whether that's punches or baseballs, and I can draw. So my whole life I drew, created art. In the military, I did murals for, squadron buildings and paintings on floors before they polish them. Stuff. I did big art, like I guess projects for different units, and help tattoo artists draw tattoos so that they can keep, you know, tattooing instead of drawing. They make more money if they have a drawing done for them sometimes. So I did that with a couple artists and got a bunch of free tattoos done. And then after the military, before I started fighting, I was just painting all the time. I did oil paintings, watercolors, drawings, and I was doing it because I was going crazy. I didn't have a purpose. I was at my sister's house. It was just me and my dog living in a room. I barely came out. I was always in my little silkies or a pair of underwear just painting. And I'd only come out if I needed food, which consisted of like Cheetos and Mountain Dew, or I needed to take a shower. And I did that for like a year. So I did all these crazy, crazy big works of art, and I just gave them away. I was just doing it just to do it. I wasn't doing it for a business or anything. And that really like showed me that when people started wanting to buy my stuff, I was like, okay, well, cool. I'll start selling stuff, and then I don't have to fight as much, or then I can fight this guy instead of that guy, and I'll take a smaller fight person, not get my jaw broke. So that led me to meet some guys that did jewelry, I worked for them after I quit fighting for about 5 years. Went all over the country selling jewelry at bike shows like Sturgis and Daytona Beach and all the big rallies. Learned the industry, and then I figured I could do it myself. I put my 90 days in with them, started a nonprofit, and me and five of us ruck march from San Diego to Washington D.C. to raise money for wounded veterans and raise money for awareness for veteran suicide. So we did 22 miles a day across the whole country. That took us almost 6 months.
Damn.
And when I came back, I approached the company that I used to work for, and I said, "Hey, I think my calling is to help veterans. I really want to make some veteran jewelry or some warrior-based jewelry that means something to the veteran community. Do you guys want to let me do that with you?" And they were opening a new store, and it wasn't really their thing, so they said no. And I told them I was going to do it myself, and I hooked up with an old buddy, and we just did it, man. And we've been making really cool jewelry for a while now.
Dude, no, it is it. It is.
See that?
Hey, keep talking, it'll come up.
There
It's
it is.
an understatement to say that
Can
these
you see
things
it?
are good. Yeah, we can see it.
So this one's all silver, but this is the cool thing. So that one was sterling silver. This one, if you see all the damage that's done to this one, that's because this is made out of spent brass shell casings. So we take shell casings from either military funerals from the 21 gun salute, or maybe a round you shot overseas. You send me the shell casing, and I can turn it into jewelry that you can have forever. So now I make jewelry specifically for vets and first responders. A lot of people wear it that aren't in that lane just because it's cool artwork, but it all tells the story of like freedom and triumph, and every piece has a story, and we give quite a bit back to different military nonprofits with our proceeds. So it's fun. I love doing it.
Dude.
I have to tell listeners, like, again, you guys, if you aren't watching, it looks like a freaking work of art that is going to leap off your finger. These things, it's so fucking cool, man. I can't stress it enough.
Thanks, man.
When I first saw, I think it was like something with Kobe Bryant on it that you did. I'm like,
yeah,
shit, it's like he's leaping. It
Yeah.
looks 3D. It looks
Bro,
awesome. I can't stress it.
the Kobe pendant I wanted to do as if it was going to be like a statue put somewhere.
Yeah.
So I did it hyper detailed. Dude, if you like that piece, we'll talk, man. It's a really good collector's item.
Yeah.
Dude.
Everything you got on is mind blowing.
No, and so Tyree had sent me some of these images some time ago. I guess when you guys first started talking or something.
Yeah.
And I was just floored. I honestly God thought these were just like I don't know what I thought they were, but like the detail that's in these things. Like I was just looking at this one, your Thor ring, and like the detail in it, the fact that you're able to carve out like the Volk nut and the Vegvisir and the Eyeshomer, the detail in his beard, and that Kobe one, I was just looking at it. It is insane. Like I cannot believe that these are like. And what's crazy is you would expect these with the detail that you have in them, you would expect them to be large, but they're not. They go on your fingers. You know what I mean? And you have probably big ass like banana hand fingers, right? Because you're a giant guy. But you know what I mean? Like, but these the detail to be that good, it's literally insane.
I'll tell you, let me make this way easier to comprehend, okay? So if I was Michelangelo and I was carving like a stone like statue, you're carving this big scale so you can do little details and stuff. So when I'm doing these, it's in a 3D sculpting program, several of them on the computer, so I can expand something as big as I want to carve detail, but the wax and the metal have to be able to retain it also. So it's a fine line. Like if you go too crazy, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't go crazy enough, it just looks flat. It's a very long process.
So the one of the goat, right, with Michael Jordan, it's a necklace pendant.
Yeah.
I can see the veins in his arms.
Yeah.
I can see the muscle striations in his legs. You know, I can see how he ties his shoes.
Sure.
It's insane. Like
imagine just making a Play-Doh, like take Jordan's legs, for instance. Imagine making it in Play-Doh in front of you and like molding the shape you wanted. Then you just got to cut the striations in, and take that away. You got to roll up the big long worm and lay it in and make the vein. And it's just like playing with dough, man.
I mean, the level of patience that goes into that, like
Oh yeah.
It takes
Tell
a
us
long
about
time.
that. Tell us about that. As a veteran like me, I have anxiety, man. I got pop up. We're all, what is it? What is the ADHD? Look at that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So for me to sit there and do the meticulous work that you'd have to do with that, how do you deal with that? Some people would find it calming. Some people find it a little too much. I think it'd probably be a little calming because
For me, it's calming.
yeah.
When I'm writing, when I'm painting, when I'm sculpting, or if I'm doing anything that takes like a great degree of, like, I guess, patience or concentration, that's when all my anxieties go away. So if I'm not doing something, that's when I'm like bouncing off the walls looking for something to do. Like my dad, when he retired, he couldn't sit still for 10 minutes. That guy, like, hey, I'm going to go get an ice cream from McDonald's. Hey, I got to go to Home Depot to buy a wrench. Like, hey, I'm going to go whatever and get some flowers for your mom. He couldn't sit still for 10 minutes. And I didn't want to be like that because I like it to be calm. So this is my, I guess it's like meditation for me.
Everyone needs it, man. I
Yeah, we need
promise.
it, bro.
Yeah, I promise if you have any heavy anxiety out there, if you can just pick up any kind of hobby, it doesn't matter what it is, man. Painting, like the book here, making these beautiful rings, doing a podcast, writing a book, anything to get your mind off of that in a positive way. It's something very cool. The I'm gonna sidetrack for a second. The group with that you guys have with Rocco and everything. I keep seeing the screenshots for that. I'm like, I gotta get into one of those. That group seemed like it was extremely influential to you.
Awesome.
We
Yeah,
can't
in a
not
big way.
stress. Yeah, we can't stress about how important it is for other veterans and other like-minded people. Because you don't have to be a veteran. Because I know not everyone's listening to the show is a veteran. Uh, you can get together and form some awesome shit if you guys just talk.
Sure. So with the group,
Yeah.
let me tell you what the group has done for me in the last 3 months. So I have a lot of really close, good friends from the military that I still talk to. We still go to ball games. We message on social media, send memes. We do all the normal stuff. A lot of those guys, I probably wouldn't burden with my troubles. So if I'm starting to feel depressed, or if I'm starting to feel, anxiety, or, I'm worried about paying bills, I'm probably not going to call one of my buddies that I served with and I love to death and put a damper on his day or make him feel like he's got to fix my problem. But in this group of other like-minded men, mostly veterans, put together by Rocco, we're encouraged to bring what's troubling us to the table. And everybody is able to be in that vulnerable spot where you don't want to be as a man. If you're a masculine guy, you don't want to be in a vulnerable position and look weak. In this group, we're all the same, and we all know that we have vulnerabilities, so we help each other. And in the last 3 or 4 months, I've been able to to not only scratch the surface of my traumas and the things that bother me, but I've been able to just completely smash where I was hiding them, like where I was burying them, and got to let all that go. And you know what? It was this last couple months, I haven't cried more than I have in my whole life. And like you couldn't, I've cried more in the last 2 months than I have my whole life. Not all in a horrible way, but crying because of a release of negative energy, a release of things that I've been worried about that happened, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and getting past all those things so that I can live in a warm place of love and happiness and spread that to others. And that's all happened in this last 3 months with men that I didn't know. I didn't know any of these guys, but there's like 5 or 6 of them. Like when we do the group chat, you'll see all these dudes on the Zoom call. There's like 20, 30, 40 dudes on there. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. But there's a group of like 5 of these guys. I talk to them every day. Like every day we send a message of like encouragement or ask how, the other guy's thing went. Like how'd your test go? How'd your, how'd the work project go? And we talk, and it's different than talking to my buddies that I shared a foxhole with, because I can be, they never knew me before. They only know me from this group, and they know that I'm trying to be an amazing father, and they respect that. So I can be vulnerable around them, and they can be vulnerable around me, and we can make it work as a collective. And dude, it's whatever Rocco's doing, man, I want to be a part of for a long time, because it is amazing. And what I've seen him do for these other guys, it's like night and day, man. Like it's like you see a grumpy dude one day, a couple weeks go by, and all of a sudden this dude's sharing a little bit, and then he's smiling. Hey guys, I just got a new job. Hey guys, I'm finishing the car that I've always wanted to finish. And everybody encourages it, and everybody wants to see what you're doing, so you're eager to tell your story, which makes you want to keep doing it. It's cool, man. I'm having a good time.
Oh, man, sounds awesome, man. It sounds awesome. I can't.
It's awesome.
I'm over here choking up thinking about it. Like, man.
We're getting ready to do a retreat. Also, we're getting ready to go meet up as a collective. This was the first team. We always call each other Team One. Just kind of a little funny inside joke. Like, oh yeah, Team One, we're always going to be the best, right, Rocco? It's just for him. I'm sure it's like being a drill instructor with some new troops that just came in. But we're having a good time. But we're having a retreat where we're going to go meet up in person and do a bunch of things that Rocco's setting up, like team building stuff. So I'm looking forward to that as a fat old man getting out there and making a fool of myself.
Well, and for folks that are listening and watching that don't exactly know who we're talking about Vincent Rocco Vargas. All right, Army Ranger, did a little work with Matt Best in the Article 15 line and YouTube videos, and has since like ventured off, and now he's in the TV show Mayans.
Border Patrol.
Yeah, Border Patrol. He worked for Border Patrol. He was a U.S. Army Reserve drill sergeant. That's where I met him, at the drill sergeant school. He and I went to school together.
Baseball enthusiast.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
baseball enthusiast.
Well, one thing that I know about him is that whatever he's into, he's an enthusiast, right?
Oh yeah.
And fortunately for the veteran community, he is into that, right? And it's super fucking cool to see somebody who can garner as much success as he has, and still be that connected to the veteran community, and want to like, he is actively trying to make the veteran community better.
He's a different kind of guy, man. He is a very, very special person.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, is like, this isn't stuff that he's doing in the public eye for like to gain attention and to make it seem like he's Mr. Good Guy. A lot of this stuff, people may not exactly know that he's the guy behind it. Yeah. And that's fine with him. He just wants to make veterans succeed, and that's amazing.
I'll give you guys something. I'll talk to you guys about something that has to deal with that his group and what he's doing from my standpoint. That I didn't think I was going to talk about this with you guys, but I'm gonna tell you what he's actually done for me, or what the group with Rock has actually done for me. A few months ago, my dad died. He had a heart attack in his sleep. My mom tried to resuscitate him and got some blood flow through CPR on the bed. First responders got there about 9 minutes later. And by the time my dad was at the hospital, they had a pulse, but it had been like 40 something minutes. My dad has overcame meningitis in his brain twice in the last 5 years. So he's been basically in ICU multiple times in the last few years. And every time we thought my dad was going to die. When the doctors were looking at his brain, they told us he was going to die. He came back. Second time, told us he was going to die. He came back. My dad was suffering with primary lateral sclerosis for 20 years. So like Lou Gehrig's disease, kind of like that. Never used a cane, never used a walker, never used a wheelchair. Just tough as nails. The strongest guy you could imagine, was always there for me in everything I did. So he dies from this heart attack. He didn't have enough blood flow to his brain. So he passed away. And at that time, me and Brittany were closing our store. We had a retail shop, and the rent went up double for the new lease, and we couldn't afford it. So we were closing our business. So I'm at this really low point. I'm losing my business. My wife is pregnant. I don't know how I'm going to make money. And my dad died. And we're supposed to be going on this trip to Utah to compete in a veteran entrepreneur competition called Warrior Rising, the nonprofit that helps veteran entrepreneurs. So we had invested all this money into making jewelry and going up to this thing, and my dad dies the day we're flying out. So we go up there, and I'm not doing good. We get through our pitch in front of all these CEOs, and I mean, hundreds of people there, and all these veterans that have amazing products and are doing amazing things for the veteran community are pitching. And we have pretty good stuff. I've been around a while. We have a good brand. We've done a lot. So our pitch went really well. But we didn't win. So we didn't win the money we needed to get back home and square ourselves away. And when I came home from this thing, I was just defeated. I didn't care that we lost the show. That didn't bother me because the people that won were amazing. I was upset that I let my wife and family down and didn't show our product in a way that could have helped us win. I wasn't mad that we got beat. I was mad that I didn't perform correctly because my head was not good from my dad's death. And I put on a huge front. No, I don't think anybody knew my dad had died there. We were doing all the things right and shaking hands and hugs and all that stuff. But I was not in that space mentally. We get home, and now reality sets in. I'm behind on bills. I don't have a store. My dad's gone. I don't know what am I going to do? I don't know how to get out of this hole. I've invested all my life, my last 5 years of my life, into this thing that takes all kinds of money, and I don't have anything to keep going. So I was going to smoke myself, and my wife was getting ready to go to see her doc and do an ultrasound on our son, and I made sure that my pistol was where it normally is. I said goodbye to her, went in the other room, and she went and got my pistol. She took it with her to the doctors, and she called Rocco. She didn't know him. She only knew that he was helping me and that I was doing really well with this group, and she knew that I needed to talk to someone. She called him, and I was looking for my gun, and my phone rang, and it was Rocco. And I knew right then that my wife called him because I couldn't find my pistol. And he said, "Hey, Paul." He goes, "What's going on, man?" I said, "Oh, I'm just trying to get the business going, man. We're kind of behind on bills. It'll be okay." Trying to just bullshit through the call, right? And he's like, "Bullshit, man." He goes, "What the fuck's going on?" He goes, "This is your time. You're going to talk to me." And we just talked. I said, "Look, you gotta trust this process. Please help me help you. Please do these things for me, and I'm going to help you." And I'm like, why is this guy helping me? What does he want from me? Everybody always wants something from you. Like when I was fighting, everybody wanted something from me. "Hey, Paul, can you get me in touch with this guy?" Or, "Hey, Paul, can you get me one of those shirts?" Or, "Can you get me some of those gloves?" Or, hey, when are you going to see this guy again? Everybody wants something. Rocco didn't want anything from me. He wanted me to be alive. He wanted me to be okay. So I told him I'd step it up and do the things that he was asking. And when you join this mentorship group, there's all kinds of things you have to do. You have to do some assessments, and you have to do some different things, and it gets you ready for what you're gonna do over the course of your time with the group. And Rocco and Brittany, my wife, they 100% saved my life, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad they did, man, because it's let me meet people like you guys, and it's getting our business to a better place. And life is so precious, and we have so much opportunity to do good, not only for ourselves but for others. I'm just really happy that I'm here to still do that.
Dude.
And I got something I can't even hold it together.
Man,
Man.
well, no, I'm thankful for.
I don't plan on talking about that today, but
hey,
And thank you so much for sharing that with us, because
yeah, we've had for real, thank you, because there's a lot of people that need to hear that stuff. I mean, Tyree and I have had a lot of guests on the show, and we've also been able to open up about our own stuff. I mean, I talked about my experiences with the same thing some time ago, year and a half ago, whatever, when I wasn't intending to, but like the show kind of went that direction, and it needed to be talked about, right? And when you talk about it in this kind of public way, it kind of helps put it into perspective. And man, like
if anyone hears our stories, could be one person that's having that shitty day. If you can help that one fucking person from not hurting themselves, which causes this rippling effect through so many lives, like we got to stick together. Like we have to help each other. We have to help each other stop this cycle, and I hate even talking about it. I'd rather talk about anything positive. And by being positive and helping people get to that place, you save people too every day.
absolutely. Yeah. And Tyree and I have, I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? We've talked a lot offline. We've talked a lot on the show, and what it comes down to is, even if, like Tyree had said earlier, like even if we can, save just one, right? If just one person, you know, can hear these stories and says, you know what? Yeah, like there is something worth living for. There is, because I mean, like, I'd been there twice, to that point, and fortunately, it was my dog that helped me pull me back. You know what I mean? Um,
Dogs are awesome, man.
man, yeah, you can't really, like
Dogs are
really.
special. Dogs are
And
special.
so yeah, so it's just a thing, man. So like, and that's the thing. Yeah, if we can just help just one person, but like, I mean, dang, Rocco and your wife, dude, like that's
I mean, it's. I was really mad. I like when I saw the phone, bro. This is where I was mentally. I was fucking mad at my wife for calling Rocco and telling him that I was less than strong. You know, like I was so mad at that. I was like, how could you do that to me? You totally fucking betrayed me. And I didn't say these things out loud, but in my head, I'm like, you fucking bitch. Like, why would you do this to me? But you know what? Over the next couple days, when I talked to my kids or my dog jumped up on me and gave me a big old like gnaw on the head and licked me, like I started realizing every little thing that I wouldn't have if I was just dead. I wouldn't have this big giant dog with nasty breath licking my face and making me laugh my ass off if I wasn't here.
dude,
My mom wouldn't
exactly.
have someone to come help her, you know, do something at the house if I wasn't here. Those are responsibilities. And those are things that are they're blessings. Like money isn't the only thing that has value. Like gold, money, diamonds, those things are so materialistic and so overpriced and overhyped. The things in value that the things in life that have value are the things that make us feel the best. And that could be your wife, that could be your kids, that could be music, that could be like, you know, looking at the sun too long and your eyes hurt. Whatever it is for you, John Denver, like you do whatever you want.
No, and that's
Did
the
John
thing,
Denver
man.
sing a song about looking at the sun or something?
But that's the thing is that those are like all those things like and we realize these things when we're deployed, right? And we come back and we're over there and you know and you don't have a toilet seat, right? You're shitting in a
Right?
box and then you're burning it, and you don't have a bed, you don't have AC, you're sleeping on the ground, you're sleeping on 2x4s or not 2x4 but plywood. You're,
Yeah.
you know, if you're getting sleep at all, right? Because what's a night's sleep when you're deployed? And it's these things that when you come back and you're like, oh man, I took all those things for granted, and then you lose track of those things because you spiral for whatever reason it may be, and then something like that happens, and then like you start to realize like you know, I used to get mad at when my dogs would go outside and it had just rained and they'd come inside and they'd track mud through the house and I got like paw prints all over the place. And then I had this like thought, like one day dogs have a short life compared to us, right? One day that they're not going to be here anymore and I'm never going to see those paw prints again.
Yep.
And then I'm like, okay, so it's actually kind of cute, and I actually really kind of adore my dog's paw prints through the house. Do you know what I mean? And it's those small things that like we're just never going to get again
Right.
if we had done that one thing. And that's I mean, people got to start thinking like that, man. And we, like you said, like we have to be there for our veterans. Like, and thank God, fucking Rocco was able to like Johnny on the spot with the phone call.
Dude.
You know what I mean?
Bro. And he
Had he
didn't
missed your wife's call,
oh,
you know,
but yeah, 100%. And you know what? She didn't even call him. She messaged him on Instagram from our business account because she knew we were talking. Me and him had been talking about some stuff on there. So she knew that he would respond on there. So she hit him on Instagram and then deleted the messages as they were talking so I wouldn't see it. They were pretty crafty, man. They got me.
it sounds like
They,
you
they
got a
got
good
me
wife,
figured
man.
out.
You
Yeah,
got a good
dude. You
wife.
know what?
Excellent.
I got a really good wife. She was a CB in the Navy, so she's a hard worker.
Oh,
She's
shit.
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, she's tough, man. She's tough.
That's
Dude.
She's
good.
big right now. We got about we're supposed to have a month until our son's born, but he's and everybody always talks about all these numbers, whatever it is. He's in there. I don't know how big he is, but they think he's in the like the 97th percentile of height and weight and everything. So they want him to be delivered sooner than her due date. So he
Yeah.
might be coming in the next couple weeks instead of the next month. And dude, I can't wait, man. It's my first little boy, so I'm excited.
It is I mean, you already got kids. You said that, but having that boy, man, my son, I almost passed out watching it. For one, if you haven't had any kids, don't watch it. Stay on the other side of it. Goddamn. But uh to hold your own boy and to watch that person grow. Like my boy is 14 right now and he's taller than me. Like
Yeah.
we went in to buy him gloves for football and I'm like, yeah, he can wear my size gloves. No.
Dude,
No.
Anthony is massive. He's a beast.
Yeah, he's already in extra large gloves at 17. He's got to be
Awesome.
knocking on the 6'2" door right now.
Good, man.
And just to watch it grow, not watch it, watch him grow
The
is incredible.
creature.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. And I'm glad you're gonna get to have that opportunity to
Yeah, I'm excited because I got 3 little girls, and my sister has 4 little girls. So it's like a little army of estrogen and ponytails running around. He's gonna have a tough time, man. I'm gonna have to keep him in a lot of sports programs.
oh
Keep
yeah.
him away from the girls.
Hey, but
Keep him
that'll be good for him though, right? Because I mean, I grew up with 2 older sisters, and
Yeah.
I got to listen, got to. I was forced to listen to all their woes and problems, and that I think that helped me later on
Sure.
in life.
Probably made you smart with the ladies.
Well, yeah, maybe I don't know.
Uh,
I, I have yet to figure that part out.
Yeah,
but
it's tough, man. It's tough.
but that's man, that's I'm glad you shared that story. I mean, because that's the stuff that people that people need to hear, and that's the stuff that we need to talk about.
And I'm starting to realize that more. Like when we did the Ruck March across America, as great a thing as it was still from like an ego standpoint. I was doing it as much for me as I was for other people at that point in my life. We used all the money we raised to help veterans in need. We didn't keep anything. But if I were to do it again, I would do it differently because it was still ego driven at that point for me. My life is just different than that now, and it's so much more fun.
You guys went through Arkansas. I saw in one of the or pictures that you
We
sent me
did.
that there was a
We
flag,
sure did.
some girl holding the Arkansas flag.
Yeah, yeah. That was
That
Kelly. Yep.
okay. That's here. That's my home. That's where I am.
That's where you're at.
Yeah,
We
you
got we
likely.
came through there. It was fun, man.
What do
We
you?
got to go to the Capitol and all kinds of stuff.
Okay, so you went down towards Little Rock. Did you? You probably came in through
Mm-hmm.
Fort Smith, um, right there on the
Yeah.
border.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So
Man,
I've actually.
it was rough.
Did you actually
Arkansas
walk?
was rough,
Yeah, we get that a lot. No, you actually probably
bro.
walked right through my hometown. Actually, right there on the
May-
border of Oklahoma and Arkansas. When you come into Arkansas, it's Van
Maybe
Buren.
I could probably bring up the
The route.
trek somewhere and show you. Arkansas was just bugs.
Yeah.
Where when we